On 90.3 FM. It's Wednesday. That means it's time for Helping Seniors of Brevard, heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock. And let's get things underway right now with the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard and your host of the show. Here's Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper, and thank you. And thank you, listener, for joining us on our regular Wednesday lunchtime gathering right here on the radio, 12 noon to 1 p.m. on 90.3 FM, WEJF. And also a hello to those tuning in online at WEJF.net. And also, as we talked about last week, the growing number of listeners who pick this up as a podcast. Of course, every time we complete a Helping Seniors radio show, TV show, anything like that, it winds its way to the helpingseniorsofbrevard.org website. So you can access, in fact, people search out by topics and things like that. But then last week, we actually made it officially into the podcast world as well. So you've been able to watch and hear Helping Seniors TV and radio on Facebook and on YouTube, but now also if you have Apple iTunes or if you like to go to Hey Alexa, play Helping Seniors, you can get us there. Google, you can get us on the any of the podcast services that are out there. Spotify, just look for Helping Seniors Radio there. And we've got a lot of good stuff we're going to talk to. We titled the title of the show today is Good Things Homeowners Need to Know. So I'm going to introduce, we have a studio packed full of experts. I'm going to start with our operations director who is joining us today. Her name is Nancy Deardorff. And I don't know, we may have less to contribute to this conversation because other than being homeowners, we're going to really defer to experts here. How are you today, Nancy?
I'm well, Kerry, thank you, and I'm looking forward to learning myself today.
Yeah, it's going to be a good learning experience for all of us. For those of you who don't know, Nancy has served on the board of Helping Seniors since before there was a Helping Seniors. She actually helped Joe back in the days when Joe was building the Joe's Clubs and everything connected to Brevard Alzheimer's, and you were there right when Joe got the whole Helping Seniors things organized and have been helping seniors ever since then.
Yes, and I feel very, very blessed to have been part of Helping Seniors since the groundbreaking, since it was founded, and now being part as operations director.
And now here we are in 11th year. We're starting our 11th year of the Helping Seniors Senior Information Helpline. And we've helped like 4,000 plus people, families, absolutely free of charge. And you were telling me actually a couple of good stories that seem to be where I'm always surprised. As a small organization, it's always fascinating to me that we're able to make as much of an impact, but it really shows when you know who to call at the right time, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And, I talked to a woman as early as this morning that was talking about how she used to get information, out of the phone book. And phone books don't exist anymore.
That's true.
And many of our seniors call and where their information source, their 411, if you will. Others call and have deeper needs. And we're very proud at Helping Seniors that not only do we take their phone calls and give them resources, but we help them navigate through those resources to conclusion. We do follow-up calls to make sure that the seniors that call us and reach out for help do, in fact, get the help that they need.
Yeah, you're saying that so well because I know a lot of people say, well, there's like referral services. I could call like 211. And actually, a lot of times, those people will refer calls over to us because it's more than a referral service. You actually get involved and try to make sure that if we're getting somebody connected to a resource or a direction to turn to try to resolve a situation, that it's actually going to make a difference. And if not, we'll keep digging or we'll just try. I mean, we're not miracle workers, but we sure will try to find something that makes a difference. And with that kind of in mind, as homeowners, we do run into stuff that we just don't know how to work through. And that's one of the reasons I'm so proud of what Joe has built with the Helping Seniors organization. We were talking about phone books, right? Remember they used to have the ads, let your fingers do the walking. And so ever since we started Helping Seniors, we published our monthly newsletter in the Senior Scene magazine. That's that popular magazine. Everybody always oohs and ahs over the covers because John Frederickson, who's the publisher, always finds such great artwork from local artists, from people right here in Brevard County, and just the magazine is a quality publication. But he's been kind enough to allow us to put our Helping Seniors newsletter in the center section of that, going back almost to when Helping Seniors started. And so we jokingly, because you'll notice the pages have a yellow border, and we call them the yellow pages. Just look for the yellow pages in the center, because we kind of hopefully are delivering good information. And so the people in the studio with us, guesting with Nancy and I today, are two people that really are going to have a lot to say that's helpful to seniors, especially if you have a home, or maybe you're the adult child of a senior and you know they have a home and you're trying to help them sort through things, or just whatever. So the first person is somebody who's been with Helping Seniors for a very long time, a longtime friend of Helping Seniors. She is the go-to expert, I think, in this county when somebody talks about the term reverse mortgages. Everybody sees the commercials on TV and they see, the famous movie star from Magnum PI out there, hey, get a reverse mortgage. But then they really want to get the details. And so when they're ready for that, they call none other than Barb McIntyre with Reverse Mortgage Funding. How are you today?
I'm terrific, Kerry. Thanks for having me, as always.
Yeah, well, we appreciate all the help you've been to Helping Seniors over the years. And we were just talking about the fact that our theme for 2022 is called Get Your Ducks in a Row. And what we're trying to do, if we're effective in this, is what Joe Steckler has charged our organization of doing, which is help people to get their aging plans in order. And what we're talking about when we say aging plan, and I feel like I have to reiterate this because people think, well, I have a retirement plan. I put money over here and I got my Social Security over there and I this or that. But what Joe means by an aging plan isn't your financial plan by itself. He's talking about all the things, like we understand having a hurricane plan here in Florida, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're going to maybe have the possibility that you're going to encounter a hurricane. We hope not, but we're going to be planning for it. And that's what Joe is talking about with an aging plan. We hope we're not going to have problems, but in case we would, we have a plan to try to work through that. And so, Barb McIntyre, over the years, we've really seen how you have educated this community about how reverse mortgages aren't, maybe they started out with kind of a bad reputation, oh, the bank just wants your house kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But you've really explained and educated people in this area that that's not what it is today. And in fact, it could be a very important strategy as you are thinking about your retirement finances and your plans, like you need help at home. How are you going to pay for it? Maybe you do want to do some improvements so that it's easier and safer to stay at home. How would you do that? And those are many times the things that you get called in to try to help families sort out.
Absolutely. And when you're trying to make a retirement plan, oftentimes it's just sitting down and starting to think about, what if? Do I want to stay? Do I want to go? As simple a conversation is those two questions. What would my plan be if I wanted to go? Right. Do I want to go into assisted living? Then how would I use my house or not use my house? If I want to stay and age in place, what then? So having the conversation is about starting to put your ducks in a row. And then, of course, knowledge is power. So then you say, well, if I were to stay and want to age in place, then how would the resource of my home's equity fit into that long-term plan? So yes, educating people and helping them see their choices and options when they do use the reverse mortgage as a financial strategy going forward, that's what I like to do.
Yeah, and I have seen, it's so funny because when you go out on YouTube and things like that, obviously it's kind of global. People,
sure.
All over the world can see it. And you've had calls literally from folks all over the country who said, well, I'm in California, but I want to know, a little bit about this.
I never get over the guy who said, well, I'm looking at you right now. And I'm sitting in my house going,
that sounds mildly creepy.
It was a little weird. And then he said, oh, yeah, I'm watching YouTube, watching you and a man named Mr. Steckler.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
No, it's good. And that's the point. Why we archive the material or make these available on the YouTube channel, and we're talking about in particular a TV program that you and Joe did. Actually, you've done several TV programs about the reverse mortgage subject, and people will go in and they'll Google reverse mortgage, and then you pop up and there's the information. And we find that people use information a lot of times because it's maybe not on somebody's radar screen until it becomes important, and then they do that. And that's part of the whole argument about your aging plan is knowing all this stuff in advance. I can tell you every time that we have an elder law attorney in here, they tell the sad story of meeting a family in crisis. And they said, if I just met you 30 days before, we would have a whole lot more options of things we can do. And that's the whole point about getting your ducks in a row. But we're going to talk today with you specifically in a little bit about something that you want to be aware of. If you've watched any of the news, you know that they keep talking about interest rates jumping. And that has a lot of impact in reverse mortgage thinking. And I think if I'm following correctly, that means it's a real, if you've ever been thinking about this, you probably want to start thinking about it now. Am I saying that right?
Yes, it's definitely a good time to get serious and take a look, see how rising interest rates affect the benefit of the mortgage. Home values are still very high, so it's a good time to make a call and just get some information.
Good. Well, we're going to dig deeper into that whole topic as we go along. But like I said, we have a studio full of people today, and another is a very new friend to helping seniors. But she brings to us an expertise that we've never really had inside before. In fact, to be honest, I didn't even really understand what this was until she explained it. But if you're a homeowner, you need to know about this. Okay, we're talking about a public adjuster. Now, what does that even mean? Well, it's the person, if you ever have a homeowner's claim, it's the person who can kind of come in with you and be on your side, because if you've ever gotten those mailings from insurance companies, you know they're like a telephone book in thickness by themselves. And to try to wade through and understand and fight those battles on your own is not only intimidating, but you don't even necessarily have the right knowledge to even ask the right questions. And so we're so fortunate that Cristin Taylor, with a company called Coastal Claims, has now become part of the Helping Seniors family. And actually, when we're speaking of Yellow Pages, you actually did an article in the January edition called 3 Things That You Should Check On Your Homeowner's Policy Right Now. And Cristin, welcome to the show.
I'm very happy to be here and to start partnering with Helping Seniors of Brevard.
Yeah, no, it's so good and so important. But when we're talking about a public adjuster, that may be a term that we don't even know as a person. All I can tell you is in one experience, I was talking to the insurance company representative who came out to look at a possible claim, and they said, "Oh, you probably need a public adjuster." And I'm thinking, like, what's that? What does that mean? What is a public adjuster?
Well, many people are not familiar with our services, but basically a public adjuster represents you when you have an insurance claim. Make sure that your policy, your contract with them, in order it is adhered to, it is followed, that all your limits are followed, all of your things that are damaged in your home that may trigger coverage are allowed to be examined and allowed to be estimated for in your loss, because a lot of times people do not know where to start when they have a claim. They do not know what the value of their claim is, and they can get caught up in all the minutia of the task that the insurance company sets for them, and therefore they're ended up fatigued by the end, and they don't really know where to go, and then they end up having to pay out of pocket, and they end up having to cover deductibles on top of that just put them in a situation where they can't fully repair their home. And I'm here, and my services through Coastal Claims are here to help with all of that, putting a great package together to make sure that their home is back the way that it should be after a loss.
You know, I was thinking about this. I really kind of first became aware of the concept of a public adjuster because a lady that we work with on some ministry stuff, she had a pipe break. She lived in a condominium. A pipe, not even in her own unit, had broken and created a sewage spill. She's on the ground floor, and apparently all this happened upstairs, but she was the beneficiary of all that mess. Yeah. And she ended up having to move in with her kids for a while because her unit was completely uninhabitable. And so after going back and forth and fussing with the insurance company, and I don't remember the particulars, and it's not really important except to get the sense of why a public adjuster makes the difference, is she said they had sold her, the insurance company told her that her agent had sold her the wrong kind of policy to cover this kind of an issue. And so she ended up having to work through a public adjuster because she didn't. I mean, how do you even know the right questions to ask when you come into that, Cristin?
Well, I always offer to look at someone's policy before I give them advice because there are things within the policy that limit what you can claim for. Most people just sign up and they pay that premium based on a great deal or what they can afford at the time, but not really knowing that they're negating coverage or negating something that could happen to an older home. And when those things come up, there is a contract that we have to adhere to, but at the same time, you can add things to your contract, add things to your policy that allow you to be more protected. And there's situations right now, just like in my article, that talk about the fact that a lot of policies after your home's a certain age will just automatically drop water coverage. And that's the number one cause of damage in a home, if not the roof or wind damage. So for them to allow me to look at them, let them know where their exposure is, and inform them so they can go back to their insurance agency and say, maybe I need to look at this specific thing and make sure I have coverage on my older home or on my home that I know that a couple of that people in the area have had problems with water leaks.
Almost sounds like you should have someone like you look at your policy before you have any kind of problem at all to make sure that you've got the proper coverage because, we live in our homes here in Florida. I mean, my house is 30 years old and I renew my insurance year after year. The premium goes up, but I don't really know if things are dropping off on the. I know there's lots of things they say are exclusions or are excluded. So it seems like your service might be beneficial I definitely before you have a claim.
I definitely think your insurance agent is the best one to advise you. But for me to go back and find out are there people that they have that are not satisfied with the coverage they have, then I can go back and recommend why that is. But I can't necessarily give them advice on everything that pertains to a correct policy. I can let them know where they have exposure. So yes, I could look at it with them, but at the same time, I want to partner with their agent to possibly help some people out.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this because when they send you your renewal, right, the first thing you pull out of the envelope is there's a bill, and it's more than it was last year.
Always.
But there's also these little thin, filmy papers that say, oh, we've adjusted your coverage. And most of us, I don't know about you, but I just take it and toss it in the trash can because I can't even figure out how to read it, Cristin.
So one of the biggest things that you probably need to look for is whether your depreciation is covered, recoverable or non-recoverable. That's a huge thing. As a home ages, they might change that, again, with just fine print, somewhere that you may not have a tendency to look at. So that fine print, for recoverable depreciation, it means that after your home is repaired, that they'll give you it's usually 50 to 25% that they hold back. And so once you can prove repairs are done, that money comes back to you. If you have actual cash value, again, which a lot of older homes may change to, then they keep that depreciation. You're not going to get that back. And when we're talking about the market conditions right now and the materials and the labor shortages, you have to make sure that you are not stuck holding a huge bill at the end of it. And I was looking at Nancy's articles, what if your income was cut in half and you had to have these out-of-pocket expenses? Where are you going to get that money from? I mean, you'd be better off looking at your insurance policy and make sure you have full coverage rather than left with a disaster in your kitchen that can cost tens of thousands of dollars to repair.
And that's why I thought this show would be so interesting because that's what we're trying to talk to. We're trying to focus in, if you're a homeowner, and a lot of times with seniors, while there are a tremendous number of people who are moving into Brevard County almost daily, we were having that conversation last week. They're popping up apartment complexes every place, and somehow there's people that are filling those up. But you also see what's going on in the housing market because for many years now, it's been a seller's market, right? The buyers are really fighting over trying to get a house, and maybe they get a house that may come with some of the problems that they weren't even anticipating. I know right now we're involved with a case right now where a first-time home buyer is trying to work through some issues that popped up after they closed on the house, and that's one of the kind of things that Helping Seniors will try to help somebody get pointed in the right direction. But I really wanted to come back and talk about, for a minute, the public adjuster, because it sounds like it would be very expensive to have your expertise be involved. Is there, and I guess most of us, since we don't know, how do we pay a public adjuster?
Well, we definitely do not collect fees from the insured, the policyholder, until there is recovered damages. And we work with the policy, we work with the claim details, and we work with the insurance carrier to recover our fees. So if there's a large loss, like in a hurricane, we have a percentage that we collect, which is usually 10%. And then a smaller claim, which would mean that there's some interior damage, maybe something with the roof, we have a 20%. So there is a percentage that we collect, but it is not collected without consideration for fully indemnifying the homeowner, making sure that they have everything they need to put their home back in order, because our service has to supply them enough to cover everything that we've told them they need to get covered. And that's one of the big things that I've really found to be helpful, is to make sure that the insured knows the value of their claim. How much is it going to cost to put this back together? So many times the insurance company just hands you a check and you're like, oh, well, lucky me, I got a check in the mail. But how do you put all these pieces together? How do you start to know the value of new kitchen cabinets, the value of new flooring, the labor? I got a quote for labor the other day on installing a floor for about 1,500 square feet. It was $7,000 just in labor. So that's something I was not prepared for as doing a renovation. So if I can not fully indemnify the homeowner, I'm going to look at where I can cut out what I'm doing, because then I haven't done my job.
Mm-hmm.
So the net effect, and I remember that was the case that ended up happening with this lady and the condo. She got the public adjuster involved because the public adjuster had enough expertise to know the right questions to ask and to make sure when they finally got to a settlement that they was going to be sufficient to be able to put the house back together. And I do remember in this particular case too that they ended up having to get an attorney involved because there was so much argument about something about the wrong kind of coverage for it being a condo. And so the public adjuster actually worked with the attorney to make sure all this stuff came together the right way. Well, that's our signal that we're going to take a mid-show break. We're going to be right back with more with Cristin Taylor from Coastal Claims and Barb McIntyre from Reverse Mortgage and Kerry, Fink, and Nancy with Helping Seniors. See you in a minute.
12:32 in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard, heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock. Now let's get back to more of the show with your host and the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Thank you, John Harper. Yes, second half of our Wednesday lunchtime gathering right here on the radio, 90.3 FM, WEJF, and welcome back to listeners online too, WEJF.net. And, we were talking during the mid-show break, the conversation was so good that we have to find a way to bring some of this into the conversation. Our guest today in the studio with me is our operations director, Nancy Deardorff, but also in the studio with us today, we've titled this show, Good Things Homeowners Need to Know. And so we have a couple of real experts in the house today to help us with these things. One is reverse mortgage expert, Barbara McIntyre, who's been friends with the Helping Seniors organization for quite some time, and also Cristin Taylor with Coastal Claims Net, who is now, as we've been talking, becoming a very valuable member of the information team just because you serve as a public adjuster, which, again, in Kerry's layman's attempt to explain this, is you're the person who fights on behalf of the homeowner to make sure that when we're trying to settle with an insurance company, it's fair to the homeowner. We're not trying to get something we don't deserve, but we don't oftentimes know the right questions to ask. So, Cristin, welcome back.
Thank you, Kerry.
I wanted to ask you to share the information if people are hearing this and they say, I didn't really know about public adjusters and I didn't really know what you might be able to do to help me. How do people get in touch with you?
Well, the best time to get in touch with us, which is through my email or my cell phone, which is right into the new Senior Scene January 22 version of the magazine. You can see my information in there, Cristin Taylor, my phone number, and my email's in there. But the best time to contact me is at the beginning of a loss. The further you wait into the loss, just like you were giving an example before, if you would have contacted me 30 days sooner, the better it is. Often people have horror stories, or someone's heard a horror story about the process that someone's gone through, and not only how exhausting and how defeated they feel in the end when they get their check back is how do I make this better? So rather than making it better, which we can make it better if you have a denied claim, but I'd rather start with someone in the beginning to make sure that they are fully taken care of, that they understand the process, and they have someone not holding their hand, but advocating for them throughout the process, making those calls. I'm the one who can be sweet to the insurance company, but I can also be pretty tough too. So, and who wants to bring that into their life when they have other things to think about?
Well, and this is really the basic bottom line thing about the importance of information and why Helping Seniors put such a focus on this, because, some people have no problem with money. They have plenty of money. They can do whatever they want. But still, I don't think even if you have tons of money, you want to waste any of it. And for those of us that are a little bit more like we got to watch our money and be careful with it, we really can't afford to waste it. So what we're trying to accomplish is the best path to get these things worked out. And a lot of times that help is in getting the right information. So it's kind of like being at a firing range. You're trying to improve your accuracy of what you're trying to do. And Cristin, that's why I think one of the things that you guys offer with Coastal Claims is so important for a homeowner to know that you exist, right? Because we would just think, I have a problem, I'm going to call the insurance agent, who will then say, well, you got to file a claim with your insurance company. But now we're going into a wall of experts, and we have no frame of reference to even know the right questions to ask. That's what you guys help with.
Yeah, let me give you a great example. As a woman who contacted me stated that she had a claim because she was having leaks from her roof. So they came out, looked at the roof, and gave her, after her deductible, she had about $1,800 to repair her tile roof. Then she gets a note a few months later saying that they're canceling her policy because she has roof leaks, so they can't insure her home anymore. So my job is to make sure that she has everything to repair her roof correctly, which that is most likely not enough money to repair her roof correctly. And she is at her wit's end because she's like, I've been a policyholder for 15 years with this company. Why are they treating me? And I try to educate homeowners also. Some people are afraid to use their insurance because they don't want to mark their record. Well, when you give the money to the insurance company, they're holding it for when you need it. There's going to be a time, most likely, when you need it. So when you need it, you want to be represented and taken care of properly. You don't want to, again, have to scrimp and fight for every cent that you need. So back to your point about how do they get a hold of me, I'm going to mention it again. Please reach me at Cristin@coastalclaims.net.
Yeah, and if you need the number, you can always call Nancy on the Helping Seniors information line. That's one of the things that she keeps close by is a listing of numbers. So if you call up and say, hey, I heard this person talking about helping with insurance, do you have a contact number? It's a great way to do it. And always remember, because that's a senior information helpline. That's 321-473-7770. And while we were in the break, we're gonna kind of shift a gear because we were talking at the outset of the show. This is a really good time to take a look at that reverse mortgage option, because as interest rates may start to rise, and nobody's really sure what the impact of that is on home values. There's a lot we're going to want to talk to with Barb Morgan, who is reverse mortgage funding. And actually, during the break, Nancy, you mentioned you had a call recently that kind of really opens up this whole discussion.
I did, and as the person who answers our senior information helpline, I'm always constantly trying to learn for myself so that I can further help our callers and connect them to the right resources. Mm-hmm. And had a call a couple of weeks ago for a lady who owned her own home. By owned, I mean has a mortgage on it. Mm-hmm. And she had several problems in her home, but the most major one was a septic system that had collapsed. And the scary part about it is she lived near an elementary school, and she had, I guess it was the drain field. I'm not a septic expert, but it was collapsing, and she had some plywood over it, and she was very afraid that the elementary school children would fall in. Ooh. She had children that cut through her yard to get to the school. Several times she had to yell at them, get away, not out of meanness, but out of safety. And she was in a pickle. She had no money to cover her septic tank repair. She would not qualify for a loan according to her. I brought up the possibility of a reverse mortgage, and she said that she doesn't trust them. She doesn't want the bank to get her house.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, a lot of misunderstanding there. And her grandson has helped her through cancer and this and that, and she very much wants to leave her home to her grandson. So could you speak to, for probably most of our listeners that have not experienced a reverse mortgage, how that works, and kind of guide them through how it doesn't mean your house is going to the bank, because that option would have really helped her greatly, and I couldn't convince her otherwise.
It's so hard to get people to understand, when they think they know what they don't know, and the reverse mortgage has never been a mortgage that is an ownership interest in someone's home. It has never been a mortgage that let a bank own your home. When someone has a reverse mortgage on their home, the homeowner has never given up title. They stay on title to the home and never come off title to the home. The mortgage is a lien interest, just like the mortgage she already has on her home or the mortgage she may have had that she paid off in some years earlier. The reverse mortgage is just a lien interest that allows the homeowner not to have to pay a principal and interest payment while they live in the home. In recent years, the loan to value on a reverse mortgage is low. It's only about 50 or 60% depending on the age of the homeowner. So when a borrower says, I want to make sure there's going to be money left for my son to inherit, 9 times out of 10, if the home is continuing to appreciate at the normal rate of about 4%, which is what homes usually do, then usually the home is going to still have retained equity that will be passed on to the heirs. Banks don't want houses. They just eventually want to be repaid from what the house can either be sold for by the family when mom's gone, or when the heirs decide to sell the house in the future, or if they decide to get their own mortgage and pay back. So it is a complete misconception that the bank is going to take your house. Now, the only requirements is that the homeowner has to pay their taxes and has to have insurance on the home. If someone has a house and they don't pay their taxes, they're going to lose their house because the house will get auctioned on the courthouse steps for non-payment of taxes, whether they have a mortgage or not. So this has nothing to do with a reverse mortgage. If someone doesn't carry homeowners insurance and the house burns to the ground, they won't have a home because they won't have the ability to rebuild it. So once again, that's not the fault of the reverse mortgage.
Right.
So those two things, as long as that's the only reason someone would get in trouble with a reverse mortgage is failure to live in the house as their primary residence and failure to pay their taxes and insurance. And it's never been any different. It's always been that way.
And Barbara, a question, when talking about reverse mortgage, a person does not need to take out a reverse mortgage for the entire value of their home, correct?
The reverse mortgage has a low loan to value. So we do look at the complete value of the home, but based on the person's age, we give them an amount that they're allowed to borrow. They don't need to borrow that full amount. They can borrow part of it and leave the rest in a line of credit, which can grow for the rest of the time they're in the house. That's what I advocate for.
Well, thank you. That really clears things up, and I tried to convince my caller.
I know, what a
and
shame.
I just couldn't. They had attended a reverse mortgage seminar years ago, And her words, not mine. I just don't trust it, and it was a shame.
It is. It's a
that
shame.
I couldn't help her travel that road. It would have solved a plethora of problems for her.
Yeah, it's a shame.
We're talking with Nancy Deardorff, who's Helping Seniors Operations Director, and also Barb McIntyre, who's a reverse mortgage expert. And I remember we've joked about this when you first came on with Joe Steckler. Joe is tough on folks because he wants to be sure if somebody's getting involved in helping seniors that they are doing it for the right reasons, that they are really after what's best for the senior. And I remember he hit you up with a lot of skepticism.
Oh, absolutely.
But point by point, you won him over. And this is Kerry's summation, and you can correct me if I have this wrong, but like if you're a homeowner and you're sort of stuck in that position, you're going to go to the bank to try to get a mortgage or some help, a loan, so you can fix this septic problem.
Yeah.
The problem is you're going to have to pay that loan back, or you will still lose your home, presumably, if it was secured by the home.
And if you're on a fixed income, you may not have the ability to make a principal and interest payment. You make yourself so much more at risk of losing your home to foreclosure by taking on an obligation of a required monthly payment than by looking at a reverse mortgage. So once again, knowledge is power.
Right.
A phone call to me to ask questions is absolutely no obligation.
I love that you said knowledge is power. That's my mantra. It's so true, though. It's so true, Barbara. I love that. Thank you.
And I see people and talk to people all day long to give them information so that, once again, they can make educated decisions about their future, just like we said right at the beginning of the show. You have to decide, you have to have a plan. Do I want to stay? Do I want to go? And if I want to stay, how can I make that happen? What will that look like?
Right.
And do I have the people that can help me stay?
Right.
Like the resources that Helping Seniors provides. I mean, what a wonderful organization that we're a part of, because you have to have the help. It takes a village. It takes all of us to be able to support each other, and
Absolutely.
it just does.
Well, and that was going to be my point, was like, well, if you get the reverse mortgage, as I understand it, I may be oversimplifying it, but basically you just have a mortgage you can choose to pay back,
Absolutely.
or you can choose not to pay back.
That's right. I'm about to be 69. I put a reverse mortgage on my home when I turned 62, and I opt to use it as a growing line of credit so that when I'm in my 80s, my line of credit will have continued to compound and grow, and it'll be available borrowing power out of my equity so that I can age in place and have home health care services. And I don't want to go to an assisted living, though I think the Fountains is really nice, and I bet it will be nice to have somebody cook those meals for me, but I'll be able to pay someone to come cook them for me in my own house.
See, there's an example, Barbara. You're an example of somebody with a plan, with a solid aging plan.
I
and
do.
That's so ties into our message, not only for 2022, but beyond in
Right.
helping seniors. So
Right.
thank you for that. And also the fact that you deal with reverse mortgages and you have one should put our listeners at ease that this is a good, viable, trustworthy option should you need it.
Right.
Yeah. So, Barb McIntyre, how do people get in touch with you if they have the question and they want to?
Anytime they can call me at 321, 259-7880. 321-259-7880.
And I keep thinking about, what you guys are talking about, knowledge being power, and really just having that knowledge and that wisdom to have somebody you can bounce these questions off of. Like I was thinking, we were talking earlier with Cristin Taylor with Coastal Claims, and like you have the question, but you don't even know necessarily the right questions to ask. So when you can call an expert and say, this is where I'm at. And that's why, so we're speaking with the expert, and we want to come back to this point we started out the show with, Barb, is if interest rates are projected to go up in 2022, that makes this a very important moment in time to, if you're thinking reverse mortgage, to take a look at it.
It's a good idea to take a look at it. The benefit of a reverse mortgage is always better when interest rates are lower. That's how a reverse mortgage works. But if you're looking at a line of credit, what allows the line of credit to have more growth is when rates are higher. So again, there's two sides to this mortgage with very different working parts. So either way, it's got pros and cons. With all that being said, the way that this product is designed, the rate of the mortgage, the rates attached to these mortgage are variable, and they go up and they go down. They go up and they go down. So when they're a little higher, no big sweat, they'll be back down, because that's what they do. And I've been working exclusively with this product for 16 years.
Wow.
So it's just nothing to be nervous about, because it does go up and down. I try to be strategic about working with borrowers, looking at their scenario, very much getting them to decide what they really are trying to accomplish, so we can decide when is the best time to really go ahead and actively get started in an application, or wait, or whatever might be the best scenario. But I don't get too nervous about the rates. Property values are still staying very high, and rates are just, they're just a little higher in the last 2 weeks than we've seen recently, but they're not they're not going through the roof. But it is a good time to take a look.
And that's why having such good resources is such an important part of getting your aging plan together. And really, again, that's one of the reasons, Nancy, I want to give out the Helping Seniors Helpline number, because if you've been hearing what Barbara McIntyre has been talking about with the reverse mortgages, or what Cristin Taylor has been talking about getting help, trying to sort through possibly a homeowner's claim, and getting really expert advice. And people sometimes I was in my car, I didn't have a pencil, but I wanted to jot that down. I think giving the Helping Seniors number is really a good way to go.
Yes, thank you, Kerry. And I want to let people know we are a small but very, very powerful little organization. We need people's help. So if you are in a position to donate, we're looking, whether it's a one-time donation or ongoing donation, we're always looking for help. And as the person who answers our senior information helpline, I'm on the radio right now, so I'm not there. So I want to let our callers know, if you call, please leave a voicemail. But even if you don't, I can see missed calls. I will always call you back. And our phones are open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. But you're not restricted. You can call anytime, and be assured I will call you back. And our phone number at Helping Seniors is 321-473-7770.
Yeah, and it's a free call, and like I said, it's helped more than 4,000 families free of charge. That's our service into the community. Look for us in Senior Scene magazine. Listen to us on the radio. Find us on TV. Before we go, though, I want to say that we're getting ready to announce that the big fundraiser that we always do every year for Helping Seniors is the car raffle. And so Joe Steckler, president founder, he got everything sorted out with AJ Hires. They have worked together for years to put together the car raffle to support charitable work, and also with Mark Pylock, who is the very magnanimous owner of the American Muscle Car Museum. Ever since he's been open, he's allowed us to have our Helping Seniors grand drawing, and so the date is set for that. It's going to be October 8th. 2022, and it's coming up. We're going to be announcing about tickets and all that, but I'm just curious. We're going to go around the room. It's going to be the same as last year. The winner gets their choice of a brand new 2022 automobile. There's basically one representative from each of AJ's fine dealerships in the area, so that means you could pick a Chevrolet Camaro, you could pick a Dodge Challenger, you could pick a Mazda Miata convertible, or the Kia Sportage, which is what David Odahowski, our winner from last year, decided he was going to go the practical route and take the take that Kia Sportage. Barb, I'm trying to remember. You told me last year your pick.
I was going to pick the Mazda.
Okay, is that what you're gonna?
I think I'll stick with that. Yeah.
Okay, Nancy, you're not eligible because we're.
I'm not eligible, but I would very much urge my good friends that support Helping Seniors to pick the Chevy or the Dodge, because I got to drive the Dodge, and wow,
yeah,
that's all I have to say. Wow.
Yeah, it's those cars. We actually started a thing 2 years ago called Dodge versus Chevy Challenge, which is a fun run out of those cars. Cristin, how about you? What?
Well, I'm definitely a Chevy girl. Owned a few and love them, but that Dodge Challenger, that sounds pretty sweet.
It's a tough call. We've asked John Harper that. I think John, you're on the. John's nodding his head. He's on the Dodge team, right? That's your favorite.
Yeah, I'll take the Dodge, and that is sweet. It is a nice car, yeah.
And I'd be happy with anything that runs and has 4 tires. And so it's good. But you're going to be hearing more about that. But if you do want to get it, we're closing out what we call the annual drive. We only do really 2 serious fundraisers a year. The annual drive, where people make a commitment and help us throughout the year. And then the fun part is the car raffle with the tickets and the big party at the American Muscle Car Museum. But if people want to donate, Nancy, how do they get in touch with us to do that? They can call the senior information line,
They
right?
can call me at the Senior Information Helpline at 321-473-7770, or they can go to our website at helpingseniors.org, and there's a way to donate online as well.
That's right. There's a little button right up top on the homepage that just says donate now, and put your name in and help us in 2022. That's good. So I want to thank Barb McIntyre with Reverse Mortgage Funding for being part of the show today and sharing some good information. One more time, if people want to get in touch with you, now's the time to call.
Yep, 321-259-7880.
And how about you, Cristin Taylor with Coastal Claims? If you've got a question, you're trying to figure out something, maybe a claim with your insurance, you say call you early, right?
Definitely call early, but we can help clean up the disaster if needed. Just call me at 321-537-9180. I'd be happy to answer any question, even if you decide not to go with me. It's good to have somebody to bounce a question off of.
Yeah, I'm just really grateful that we continue to build good resources that will help seniors. So if you're a homeowner, this particular show has a lot of meaning because it could be the way that you get those house repairs done that you need to get done. Maybe there is an insurance claim that you weren't even aware of, or in the case of looking for a way to finance, like we were talking about with that septic system, that would be just an interesting case study because I wonder, if it's just age, but that's a call somebody would give you a call about. And
that is something that we would come look at and see where we could find coverage.
Right.
And
even people that don't that have had to let their insurance coverage lapse because they couldn't afford the premium. I mean, what a good use for reverse mortgage funds. Let the equity in the house pay your insurance premiums, for goodness sake.
I know we've talked in the past, it could even get rid of the mortgage payment, right?
Well, of course, get rid of your mortgage payments, principal and interest, but then be able to pay your annual insurance premium. I can't imagine how good you can sleep at night if you go to bed at night knowing you have no insurance on your home.
Yeah, so important.
Yikes.
So important. So if you missed any of the numbers, give Nancy Deardorff a call at the Helping Seniors info line, 321-473-7770. And thank you guys for taking your time today to join us on Helping Seniors Radio. On behalf of Joe Steckler, our entire team of Helping Seniors, we'll look for you next week right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF, Wednesday, 12 noon for Helping Seniors Radio.